Welcome into another episode of Fully Unscripted. I'm Todd Lanter. He's Zach Ramey. Kash Daniel's going to join us in a little bit. He's lost in the parking lot of a liquor barn somewhere trying to get us some more William Tarr that we've been out of for a month. So he's going to join us a little bit later. We got a great show for you today. We're going to talk Kentucky football and NFL news. Philly, great time to be a Philly fan. Eagles stay undefeated. Phillies are playing well. You're probably not happy about that.
I'm not happy about that.
As a Yankees fan, but we'll save all that for Kash. We got a great guest. Travis Branham is going to join us later this afternoon, hopefully here in a few minutes, actually. So he might just walk in the middle of this segment, but it's a good thing because we're starting with college basketball. We're back.
It's good to be back.
It's like, I mean, it is good to be back, man, isn't it? Madness last week. The weather decided to cooperate for college basketball too because it stayed fall for about 4 days here in Kentucky.
Don't worry. Kentucky likes to.
It's
ebb and flow.
yeah. Well, it snowed like 2 hours north this morning.
Snowed Danville last night.
Did it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, snowed 45 minutes from here. Yeah, it'll be 85 and sunny on Monday, I'm sure.
It will.
So yeah, first exhibition game is October 30th in a week from Sunday. Yeah, against Missouri Western State, which ironically is John Hood, who played with me at UK that you know well. Hoodie is an assistant there, as is Perry Stevenson under head coach Will Martin. Will Martin was the head manager for the 2012 team for John Calipari, visited 4 Elite Eights, I think, and included 2 Final Fours, I think. So he's got a little bit of experience.
Little alumni coaching game.
Yeah, I tell you what, if they score, two circle. If they score,
oh man,
if Kentucky scores on 2 circle against that team, Hoodie and I are going to have some words. That whole staff should be fired. They know that playbook inside and out, especially that play. We've used it one too many times.
If that happens, he's a guest the next week automatically.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm hoping he can come on when he's in town. We'll see if we can distract him enough and get some of that staff on ahead of the exhibition game on Sunday. But it's crazy, man. College basketball season is back. I love
quick. October, man.
Me too.
October is just, you got playoff baseball, you got college football, NFL's in full swing, Keeneland. College basketball. Keeneland, I don't know what more you want as a Kentucky person.
You don't. I mean, it's just perfect. If the weather stays where it was at on Saturday, which I went to the game at Commonwealth Stadium. It's still Commonwealth Stadium. I bought all my groceries from Kroger, loyal customer. It's still Commonwealth Stadium, but got to enjoy the game there. I took a big coat, gloves, a winter hat, the whole 9 yards, stayed in a T-shirt. It felt phenomenal. Jeans and a T-shirt. Did you go? You didn't go this week,
I was in Nashville at Post Malone.
Oh, that's right. You have an infant, too. You have an excuse.
Yeah, I do have an infant.
He could get a little frosty out there, even with a little bit of a breeze. But, yeah. So, first we'll talk. We got to come back to that. We'll wait on Kash for that one. But, yeah, first exhibition game, October 30th. We've gotten to see a little bit, of what the Cats might have in store for us this season on the basketball side of things with the trip to the Bahamas. So, what did you see? What are your takeaways from that? I know, out of all the fandom that you're a baseball fan, football fan, but most importantly, basketball fan, state title winner here in Kentucky. You know the game better than just about anybody else in my circle. So tell me what you saw in the Bahamas, what you're excited about, what maybe some holes might be in the Cats this year.
Well, for me, anytime we get to play during the summer, it's always exciting, right?
Yeah.
Like you get to watch, you kind of get a feel for it. But this year's a little unusual because the last few times we played, we had a couple more seniored guys on the team. But this year, you got your All-AP Player of the Year back. You got some brand new freshmen. You got a couple more veteran guys. You got a couple transfers. For me, I saw a more complete team this year for this summer going into this year. And I think the main piece in my mind is Antonio Reeves.
Okay, why?
His ability to shoot will change us so much. And I think we'll preface this with hopefully C.J. Frederick can stay healthy, right? C.J. Frederick being able to shoot the way he does, one of the most beautiful shots I've seen. And him and Reeves, I think for Cal's offense, to have a couple shooters is just, so important. And then you just got, what does Kash say? A dog.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A dog in Case and Wallace.
Case and Wallace is a monster. Chris Livingston's a monster. I like both of them a lot. Antonio Reeves, like you said, I think can be, an extremely vital part to both sides of the court this year. I'm really impressed with what I saw from Jacob Toppin as well. And I do throw, oh, look, Travis We'll see if he can stroll in here. Hang on, I'm going to take this real quick. What's up, bud?
Where do I go?
Well, I'll send somebody for you. We're literally recording right now, so stroll on in here.
Where is it? Where do I go?
How many times can you say it in 2 seconds? Pop a squat, my guy. We're running.
What's going on, buddy? It's been a while.
We're literally rolling. Have a seat. What's up? You're not interrupting. You're right on time. What's going on? How you doing, bud? Grab a seat. You doing good? That's your blanket in case you get cold.
It's not.
Here,
It's
see
not
if you can
it.
get cozy right there. You good? He might be able to adjust it for you. So we just switched over to talk about college basketball this year. We're starting with the Cats because we got Hoodie, Will Martin, Perry Stevenson coming into town for that first exhibition game on Sunday. Yeah. All part of the coaching staff of that team. But just talking about what
About the Bahamas.
Yeah, how the leg up of being able to do some things in the summer benefits college teams. So specifically this team, just a lot different of a look than we've had in the past. We got some vets, we got guys that have added to their offensive game, and this isn't specific to Kentucky basketball. Yeah. We're just talking in general here, but specific to Kentucky basketball. Zach really likes Antonio Reeves. I know you got to cover him a lot, leading into his recruitment. What are your thoughts on him, first off?
Shot maker. I think that's what's going to be the biggest thing that he provides to the team this year. Kentucky's going to need some floor spacing. He provides that. Yeah. I think there's going to be games where he's going to be able to he's going to get off, and he's going to have some big games for Kentucky this year. But everything, for the most part, just going to be shot making, man. Spread that floor, create some space for Severe Wheeler, and in case Wallace to get into the lane and just knock down the open jumpers. So, and then obviously the agent experience will be valuable as well.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit, just since you mentioned him, about Kason Wallace and Chris Livingston. What do you like about those guys? Are there missing components that they bring to this roster? What do you see there?
Kason, absolute warrior, winner. One of those guys that provides all the winning intangibles. I think from day one, first time I ever saw him, that's been what's jumped out. He's not a flashy guy. He's not this Ty Washington type where you give him the ball and he's able to just go create and get you a bucket at will. Mm-hmm. He's much different than that. He's just an absolute warrior, man. Elite defender. He's a willing passer. He gets other people involved. So he's going to be a very, very valuable piece. I actually anticipate him probably being the best player on this team this year, from being able to function both on and off the ball offensively. Then again, just what he provides defensively, it's really kind of hard to measure what he brings to a team. Chris Livingston, a lot of talent, man. A lot of talent. 6'6", 6'8", wingspan, 220 pounds. This dude's just stout, big. He's really strong. He's really powerful. Will say the one thing that I think he's got to work on is his motor for the game. This is a kid that has always been a bit inconsistent in high school.
Does he remind you a little bit of AP? I see a lot of Alex Poythress in him.
I do like that. Honestly, at Pro Day, I was there. Mm-hmm. You saw it then too. Like you kind of would hope, like you got 30 teams sitting there watching you. Ramp it up, man. Yeah. There's just a lot of times he leaves you wanting more. But when he's clicking, dude can really, really, he can finish strong at the rim, get to the free throw line. He's actually a pretty good passer. I remember in the month of July last year, it was like a 3-game spurt. He nearly averaged a triple-double each game. Mm-hmm. So a lot of talent there. Just he's got to ramp up his motor and get more confident and become a consistent knockdown shooter from 3 off the catch. So I think he's going to be one where we see him have some big games like AP, but then you're also going to see him have games where he maybe only plays 10 to 15 minutes because when Cal throws him in there, he's not getting what he wants.
Yeah, his athleticism looks effortless, but at the same time, that's kind of a pitfall. I mean, we saw, I remember specifically AP's game against Duke in the Champions Classic his freshman year was like this, what I thought was going to be this huge coming out party. And he's one of my best friends and who I battled with in practice, basically who I was asked to to cause problems for in practice the most and piss off. And he as emotional of a person as he is, he stayed pretty even keel on the floor, almost to a detriment.
So you're saying we can blame you for his slumps, not getting the proper talent.
If you have to blame me for his slumps, there's a bigger problem at play. We'll leave it at that. But Zach was saying, again, spacing the floor. Jacob Toppin has much improved his jump shot. CJ Frederick, being able to be out there this year, I think is going to help us out a lot.
I think the biggest surprise for me outside of those guys we already knew about, right? Kaysen coming in, highly touted. Chris Livingston, same way. But how much is Damian Collins?
That's what I was going to ask. So last year, he blessed me with his presence on the Steep 14 podcast and praised Damian Collins. Not that he didn't live up to it, but he said he was the best draft prospect that he thought was on the roster last year. I'm curious if you stick by that. Is there more? Is he not developing as quickly as you hoped? What do you see there?
I'll say he's made a big jump in his development in terms of skill set, everything. When at Pro Day, he's making shots, both off the catch and pull, 1 and 2 dribble pull-ups, off the catch from 3. Obviously, freaky athlete, man. But I will say his body is a little bit further along than I would have hoped for at this point.
You're saying it's not far enough along yet.
It's not far off. Yeah. So he's gonna need another year right now. If he were to go to the NBA draft at the end of the year, I would say he's looking like a second round pick, and that's also based on my conversations with the NBA teams who got to see him at Pro Day. Obviously, haven't seen him played a game of basketball this season yet. But I think if you really throw him into a lot of pick and pop situations where he can start making and looking at shots off the catch, and then obviously do his thing from rim running and lob catching and blocking shots. He's one that I think Kentucky fans could be really, really excited. But I think between him and Jacob Toppin, there's going to be a lot of interchanging. One night, Jacob Toppin will be off. Another night, he's going to be going. And so you're just going to let him go out there and play and keep doing his thing. So I think those two, you're going to see interchanging a whole lot. But, yeah, skill set, he's made a big jump. I mean, if you saw him 2-3 years ago, man, he was just such a naive, just raw kid, man. Like he had no idea what he was doing on the court. He was literally teaching himself how to play basketball. Going into the gym early in the morning, spinning the basketball, and just trying to figure it out. So he's come a long ways, but there's still a little bit more ways to go.
Absolutely.
Just from like the outside fan perspective, right? Like just from what you saw last year on the court, he's just so much smoother.
Yep.
Like from the Bahamas. At the end of the day, for me, I hope he does have to stay, right? Like, because you want to keep these guys around as long as you can as a fan. But you could just see he's much more confident in his movements, his jump shot. Before he was so hesitant to take it, which kind of messed him up. He'd airball or whatever it may be. He's at least more confident now. Like you said, haven't got to see him play a game yet, so it's a long season.
I think you just nailed it. Confidence has definitely been a drastic improvement. Like 2 years ago, when he first was like really becoming like an elite player, like you could go talk to him and he's just like so nervous. He had no idea like what to do and how to say and handle the media. Like it was just all so new to him. And now you go 2 years later and then you're seeing the way he's playing at the Bahamas, seeing how he's playing it. Like he was fearless in front of these 30 NBA teams. He was shooting everything.
Really?
They were bad shots. There was a lot of bad shots he took. You got to limit what he was doing a little bit. But at least he's doing it. Like he's out there trying.
Take that over being hesitant. Ask Ben Simmons that question.
So that confidence, that's something that wasn't there 2 years ago, and so he's feeling good heading into the season.
Well, confidence is something he's going to need because Kentucky faces 10 top 25 teams this year. They got the Zags, Michigan, UCLA, Bama, Tennessee twice, Kansas, Arkansas twice, and Auburn. The next closest team is the preseason number 4 team in the country this year, North Carolina, and they got 6.
They play 8 teams, but 10 total.
Sorry, 10 games. Yeah, sorry.
And then North Carolina plays, I think, 4 teams, a total of 6. I'm right. Duke twice. Right. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, get confident quick because it's going to be a long, tough season, especially. I mean, this non-conference season. People have been giving Cal hell for a long time about not scheduling hard.
I would rather go through a schedule like that and be prepared, and then hopefully take down a team like St. Peter's.
I will say it's a whole other conversation, but the home and homes, like they want to see these people come home. They want to see them in Lexington, like we used to growing up.
Oh,
like
I know.
Seeing North Carolina come in the building. Like there's having those home and homes, having Indiana come in the building, Kansas.
Yeah. What's the Zags? We're going there first,
but it's a 6
but it's not at. Yeah, but it's not
it's at their convention center, like 2 miles away, and then it's at Rupp, And then they
It's
go
wonky,
to like a
man.
neutral site.
Yeah,
so
it's
like
wonky.
2026 or something, we play like at their 10,000
Yeah.
person arena or whatever.
I'd so much rather do that. Like, who wants to go play Duke? Like, at the convention center somewhere people can go instead of playing at Cameron. You know, like the whole play at home.
For me, I get it. Like if you're just going to do 1-1, but if you're going to do a 6-year contract, play there.
That's
like,
what I'm
they're
saying.
coming to
Back
Rupp
and
next
forth,
year.
yeah.
And then you showed you're willing to do it in 6 years. Like you're willing to go into their arena, but why not now? And especially how highly ranked and touted some of these guys are. I mean, it's been an awesome atmosphere.
Oh, it's going to be, regardless, it's going to be a hell of a game. I'd love to get out there and see. You going to go? Do you have plans to go?
Out to Gonzaga?
Yeah.
Heck no.
I've never been. I want to go.
You should go.
I wanna go.
Spokane is awesome. While you're out there, slide over to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's like this beautiful, beautiful lake town. It's unbelievable. Great golf course. It's got a par 3 and literally it's an island green. Like you have to take a boat to get to the green.
I'll be down that hole for a bit.
Yeah,
I'd imagine.
I would never make it to the boat. So
You might need a boat.
But no, yes, you should go. I will not be. I'm going to be.
I haven't been
here.
out there. I want to go. I got a couple friends that were they played for Mark Few at Gonzaga that I'd like to go see for that. So that would be exciting. But first, we're going to start with Missouri Western State on the 30th in the exhibition. I already told Hoodie.
Come on, Griffs.
I know. I already told Hoodie though. If they score on them a 2-circle, the whole staff needs to be fired. The whole staff because he should know that play like the back of his hand, like pretty much everything else. But it's going to be interesting. So. Talk to me a little bit. I know you got places to be today, so I appreciate you stopping by. But talk to me for a minute about what this recruiting class looks like it's shaping up with next year for us. I mean, we've got, Kentucky fans love to get the cart ahead of the horse. The undefeated season talks and the we're going to get the best recruiting class.
Don't start talking like that.
I know. I want to know.
Start talking like
I'm
that.
hearing. You know me. I've told you this for a long time. Your entire career is built around this, but. I don't like to get in too much into the buzz until I know who's coming and why and where and how that roster is going to fit together because, it's a lot of information to keep up with and it's a 25/8 job for you. So I just rely on you to pass that information to me. So what's this next class looking like? Who's feeling good for you?
On paper, it'll be arguably his best class ever. Aaron Bradshaw, number 4, Justin Edwards, number 3. Rob Dillingham, 13th in the country. Obviously, Reed Shepard, who's like 44th in the country in our rankings right now.
And you don't have to say it. I'll say it. DJ Wagner signed a Nike deal. We have to imagine he's coming.
I mean, yeah, I posted that. I
did a crystal ball.
I did my crystal ball pick on Saturday. That's one. I think that thing will be done. I said in the article before the season starts, which for New Jersey kids it starts later than normal, but I actually anticipate it being much sooner than later. So. I think it's safe to assume that DJ Wagner will be – so they'll have number 2, number 3, number 4, number 13, and number 44.
And who's number 1 right now?
Isaiah Collier, looking like he's going to go to USC at this moment.
Okay.
So he's a point guard out of Atlanta. But anyway, so yeah, on paper, when you look at that class, arguably the best he's ever had. 3 top 5 kids. I mean, that's just stupid. But not all classes are created equal. And that is not to rain on the parade or kind of discredit these kids or anything like that, but it's just the truth. Like, not all classes are created equal. Not all classes are going to have a Karl Anthony Towns and a Devin Booker on the same team. Not all are going to have DeMarcus Cousins and a John Wall on the same team. I don't think you're getting that with this 2023 class anywhere in the country. So I will say that if you're thinking like, oh, there's going to be a super class that's going to have a chance to go undefeated, say pump the brakes.
Look,
big time.
I have been in the locker room as of you on some of those undefeated expectation teams. It's a lot harder than people want to give it credit for, and they still give it a lot of difficulty. Like when you're on the outside looking in, but having been on the inside, I mean that 2015 team, we almost lost on the road to Georgia. Nobody's ever even going to remember that game. We were down 7 with like 4 minutes left. Like it can happen, and it can happen quick. So. I'm not going to get behind any undefeated talk ever. I was, we were close enough once, but this isn't a Kentucky show per se. So who else do you like going into this season that we should be on the lookout for, individuals or team?
I mean, I'm just going to be really interested to see what Duke does this year. John Shire coming in. We saw what Hubert Davis did last year. I think that may add a little bit to the pressure. Like your arch rival, they get a new head coach, your legend, he leaves and they go to the Final Four. They obviously have the number 1 recruiting class, and I think they got similar to this 23 class. Like they had the number 1 class last year. So there's a lot of hype behind it. But again, not all classes were created equal. I think that's something Duke fans are going to learn pretty quickly this year. They got a lot of interesting pieces that they're going to have to mold together, just like Kentucky will have next year. So I'm going to be really, really interested to kind of see what they do. And then just right up the street, I'm also going to be really curious to see what North Carolina does to project. The ABC preseason poll came out yesterday. They're number 1 in the country. Can R.J. Davis and Caleb Love kind of continue on that magical run? Because if you watched them last year during the regular season, they're impeccably average. Like they struggled a lot at times. They were ugly to watch at times.
Nothing to write
It was
home to
rough.
mom about.
It was rough. Yeah.
It was really like, and they came into March and they just absolutely caught fire. Caleb Love especially. Like
That's the way you want to do it.
Yeah, he
though.
caught lightning in a bottle during that tournament run.
So I mean, you got to be a creature of habit. You got to really kind of piece that all together and hit it running again this year. Because I mean, maybe it was just a 1 month just hot streak, or maybe it wasn't. We'll find out.
I mean, watching what Davis did, Hubert Davis did with that team was incredible. Because I remember watching them. I mean, literally in February and being like, these guys aren't ready. And then I got the opportunity to be in New Orleans for the Final Four and see them. Different ball team, and I mean that's the name of the game. You keep on that trajectory and continue to improve, and you hit your hot streak when everybody else is plateaued.
Yeah,
and you end up fighting for a national championship. So we love college basketball. Obviously, being from Kentucky and being on that team, I'm partial to the Wildcats and want to see them do well, but I want to see good basketball over everything else.
Who are you interested in?
Do what?
What teams are you interested in?
I was curious to see what you'd say about Duke because I love John Shire. I mean, people are going to give him hell from here because he's a Duke guy, but I love him. Love the way he coaches. Love the way you and Evan and everybody that I know that has a relationship with him talk about him. I think to be as young and what's the word I'm looking for? He just brings such a different approach to coaching than we're used to seeing now. Like all these blue blood coach. I mean, Cal's getting older. All these other guys that Bill Self getting older. Like they're all, that generation's kind of phasing out, and this is a new wave that's coming in. Like a wave that we're a lot more intimate and close with, and grew up, watching and playing, and the game's changing. It's changing, and it's becoming a lot more like the league. And now for the best transition in the history of podcasting, NBA season starts tonight. So we're also excited to see that. What? I know you had something left.
No, I'm good.
Go ahead.
I'm never going to hear the end of this. How great that transition was. You could text me later, back, man. You remember that transition?
That's what he does, man. That's what he does. Todd loves a good self brag.
He
loves it, man.
So
I want to add one more team in there.
Yeah.
Arkansas.
Yeah, that was going to be my point.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, that team I'm going to watch so closely this year because they don't have a Jalen Williams, which is a massive loss. I think if they had Jalen Williams, to me, they're my national championship favorite.
Really?
No question. Must is one of those guys that absolutely gets the most out of his guys every year. Elite coach. I think Nick Smith is a better version of J.D. Note, and I think Kentucky fans got a good J.D. Note experience. What didn't like the SEC tournament? Correct me if I'm wrong. He went off for like 30 points.
It was a lot. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Something silly.
Was it in the SEC tournament against
I think
us?
so.
I can't.
Maybe it was
remember.
just a late in the season
remember,
game.
but-
I can't remember either, man.
But I do
My brain's
remember.
fried.
I do remember having to bite my tongue a little bit on the post game radio show about that because I didn't want to expose anybody too harshly. But I think I'm losing. What? Did you find it?
That was going to be mine. Is talking about Arkansas.
Yeah.
The players that they got a bunch of transfer. I mean,
Yep. Trevon Brazil.
they have
People
a
are
team.
raving. NBA teams who go down there
that
and
a
go watch
transfer?
him.
I haven't
Yeah, he was
heard
transferred out of Missouri.
Okay.
He was a freshman last year, 6'9", 6'10", really. I mean, you look at him. I mean, he just fits the bill, right? But he can stretch the floor. He's a really good athlete. He can put the ball on the ground some. But all the NBA teams who have gone there have come out raving about him. So
Did he start for Missouri last year? I don't remember him.
I don't know if I can't remember if he started. I know he played about 20 minutes a game.
I can't remember him. I got to look.
He was kind of a baby still. His frame hadn't filled out. He just wasn't ready. But him, Nick Smith, he'll be really interested to see what Anthony Black does. I think he's going to be one of those kids. I'm really interested to see what he does in the SEC play. I think he's going to generate a ton of buzz and hype probably in the non-conference stuff, but going to be really interested to see what he's made of when it comes to SEC play. Tremendous talent. We had him as a 5-star, and they also have a kid named Jordan Walsh, but I don't anticipate him having a massive role for them this year. But they also got, again, tons of transfers. The Mitchell twins out of Rhode Island started their careers at Maryland, but tons of talent on that team. And again, Musk gets the most out of his guys. And if I'm picking a dark horse today, I'm picking them as my. I love that. That's my dark horse.
I love that.
I'm excited for SEC basketball in general. A lot of good teams.
I mean, I'm obviously a little biased, but SEC basketball is going to be up again. You know, I love what Muss has done in the past, but SEC football is looking like it could be it could be an all SEC college football playoff this year. Seriously, it can't be. But
I was going to say it could
be. Like I'm saying there's what was that thing he sent us?
There's a road that
I know
you could get. I mean, but Alabama as SEC champion. It would be a one-loss Georgia team.
But they can't put 4 in there. I'm just saying.
No, they could not. It was just the scenario.
I know.
And then a one-loss Ole Miss team to Alabama, and then a one-loss Tennessee team to Georgia.
Yeah. Wouldn't that suck?
I don't think they legally can do that.
I'm saying for Kentucky to lose the way they did at Ole Miss and they get into the freaking playoff. God bless, that would be.
It would. It'd be
madness.
Wild.
Madness, but I mean, it could even get more interesting. Kentucky still got to go to Tennessee, so they got them, and then they got Georgia right after them. I'm not saying Kentucky, but Tennessee has Georgia right after them. I think they're on the road at Georgia.
Yeah, they're on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a tough. You just don't know what Kentucky team's going to show up either, right? Like you could come in, and you could be just walk through them, or you might have a battle on your hands. So,
well, like you said earlier before we got on the air, it's a good thing we got to buy this week.
We needed the buy. We got some people that need to get healthy.
Yeah, no kidding.
No question.
And maybe an offensive line needs a little bit more practice.
Yeah. We'll save that for the last segment. But I know you got to get up out of here. Give me real quick your thoughts on the NBA. I mean, rookies. I know you've been covering for a while, so you got a couple guys that you're familiar with that are starting off their professional careers this year. You don't have to give me anything, but if you got any thoughts you want to share, feel free.
I was super excited to watch Chet Holmgren this year. Obviously, that parade got rained on pretty hard, pretty quick. Paulo Banchero.
Did you just speak that into existence? Did it just start raining?
No, I think.
Please.
Oh, goodness gracious, Todd.
Sounded like it.
Paulo Banchero is obviously going to be a stud. I think he's going to be the biggest impact from day one. He's the most NBA-ready guy. Jaden Ivey, I want to see what he does. I think he could be one of the most electric, entertaining players, especially young guys, to watch. So, NBA. Actually going to the Hawks game tomorrow night. So go check in and see what Trae Young's all about.
Who do they have? Who do the Hawks have?
Honestly, I kind of forget.
Fair enough.
I saw I have a question for you. Have you got to see Victor Wembanyama?
I have. I watched him. First time I ever saw him was in Udine, Italy, when he was 15, 16 years old, playing for the France national team in the European Championships. Absolute freak of nature. I mean, he's one of the, they said it. He's the most unique and exciting best prospect since LeBron. I don't think it's close either. I don't know how you can be 7'4" that long, but that fluid. Like, it's freakish, the stuff he floats, man. And then crossovers, step backs, fadeaways. I don't know where he came from, what planet he came from. But that dude is just a total freak of nature, man. And he's gotten so much better since he was 16. When he was 16, he was literally all arms and legs, and he was just a twig. He looked like Chet Holmgren.
Yeah.
So, but he has wider shoulders and all that, so he's able to add a little bit more weight than Chet ever was. But
I think that story itself is something I'm most excited for in the NBA season, to kind of see how it shakes out, because we've heard it. It's going to be a race to the bottom, right, to go for him and get that number one pick. So things that I've been hearing is that people's going to be, selling earlier on, right, to go ahead and just start tanking, essentially, like getting rid of some better players that have value to try to go for that number one spot. So I like storylines inside the season, and to see who. No. Come on now.
Well, by the way, they got the Rockets. You'll get to see Jabari.
Oh, that's right. That's exactly right. And Jalen Green. Yeah, that's exactly right. And Rockets just signed Kevin Porter Jr. to an extension.
So last thing I'll let you leave us with. There's talk of all this being able to go straight from high school to the NBA again. With all your coverage of these young guys, is that a good thing for them?
To me, it's a good thing to obviously have the opportunity and option to do that. For a Scoot Henderson case, Scoot could have. Scoot was ready. He could have done it, and he would have been a lottery pick. The issue I know will happen, but this is just going to be the nature of any business and beast, is going to be a lot of bad decisions made. A lot of these kids not necessarily just the kids, but the people around the kids, because they're the people who are telling the kids what they are, and it's just a bunch of just lack of reality, right? So a lot of bad decisions will be made because of it, but I don't think that should be the reason why you say, oh, we can't have that. We can't pass this rule because the kids are going to make bad decisions or whatever. I think it's just going to take a couple of years to shuffle out. So, yeah, good for them to eventually give them that opportunity again.
I'm curious how much NIL will affect that for sure in some of those cases where they're teetering and they want to make a bad decision because of the money. But, now there's at least a little bit of another option. I'm curious how much it actually starts to affect, or what percentage of kids it actually affects. I'm curious about that. But
their eyes will be bigger than their stomach.
Well, always. But I'm saying that's going to be the case whether they're talking about the league or overseas or college, regardless. But at least they're not sacrificing, being able to take care of their families entirely. Of
course,
right?
No question.
So I'm just curious what it'll affect.
We're seeing it now with the Ignite. Ignite has signed nobody really. I don't think they've only signed London Johnson. That's a high school kid out of Atlanta, Georgia. That it's a two-year deal, and Siri, but it's a 2-year. Like, you're seeing how much it's impacted the Ignite. So yes, it will. NIL will definitely kind of taper all the bad decisions, I guess. All the decisions of all those kids that will be on the edge, they'll definitely start coming back to college. But initially, I would say it's going to be a big flood.
Well, for those that genuinely, for kids that genuinely need to be able to take care of their families, right? Like, the NIL will offer enough of an alleviation to allow them to make an educated decision, right? Like, that's why I think it's a good thing. But those that their eyes are bigger than their stomach, that's going to be the case regardless.
Yeah. I think it's going to help the college game out too, right? Like,
if they change the rule,
right? Because I think you're going to have some people jump. Obviously, not a ton, but I think it's going to allow people to stay in. Like, people will come and stay in college a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this: wouldn't you like to see? Wouldn't you still like to see a John Wall in college basketball? That still adds like a different element. Like, obviously you want to see the continuity, but you also like the stars coming in and like
I love
excitement.
The stars. I just think back because as a true Kentucky fan, right? Like that eat, breathe, and sleep Kentucky basketball. I miss the days that people stayed, right? And you could fall in love with teams. I love the star power, right? But also, like, falling in love with my team for a while. So I still think you're going to have your stars come because people come and they turn into a star, right? Tyler Hero, right? What wouldn't have made the jump originally, but after 1 year, he go, like, or Shea, right? Another perfect example. Yeah. So you're still going to have those stars, I think, flourish. But you just won't, like you said, get the top. It's like Zion Williamson wouldn't have been around, right? No shot. So I think it's kind of a give and take. I could go either way with it.
Yeah. Well, we're an outlier, right? As Kentucky fans, we're an outlier because we're one of the 7 or 8 teams probably that are going to be dramatically affected by that rule change. But everybody else, it's kind of a toss up in some cases.
I would say you will also see like a Tyler Ulis stay in college for 4 years. Like, those will be the better ones.
Yeah. So I could name, for instance, to your point, I could name every player on like that 2003 Kentucky team, right? All the way down the line. Right. But there's rosters that I couldn't name the 5 starters like in the years since I've been out. Right. That I couldn't tell you which 2 guys were on the same team. Like, there's some foggy gaps there because they were only here for 9 months and gone.
Right. But like you said, I think NIL will also offset it a little.
That's
right.
Yeah,
like,
it'll be a good balance,
especially for like you said, we're Kentucky fans, and then the Dukes and North Carolinas of the world will be able to give that money of some degree.
But now that you have NIL, allowing them to go straight to the league is at least kind of a counterbalance.
You got competition there,
right? Yeah.
You can go get drafted in the second round and go make $50,000.
Like, for instance, I would venture to say somebody like, like Oscar is probably more valuable monetarily in Lexington than he is in the NBA.
No question.
But I'm saying, how often is that going to happen? Right? Like, you don't know, especially until they get here and they're that likable.
Let me put it this way: if they were to pass it right now, looking at this current 2023 class that consists of Aaron and DJ and all these guys, I think maybe one would be a first-round pick. Maybe,
really?
Maybe one, and that would be Isaiah Collier. I don't know if DJ Wagner would even be a first-round pick.
That speaks a lot, just like you're saying, all classes made equally. I mean, that just speaks volumes to it, and also a little depressing for Kentucky.
I mean, that shouldn't be depressing. I mean,
not depressing, but nonetheless, like because
it's just the way the classes. I don't know. I mean, I don't want that to be negative and a shot at anybody.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's just,
that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the game we play, and it's. I mean, ultimately, the way that college athletics is going, it's going to be a semi-pro league sooner rather than later anyway. So, I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out. But appreciate you stopping by. I know you're a busy man, especially right now, this point in the year. So
it's about to hit, man.
Yeah. So thank you for taking the time.
Of course,
and
thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
You've been a good
Great
friend.
seeing you again, man.
Yeah, you've been a good friend of both of ours for a long time. But watching what you've done with your professional career and the way you handle yourself is always a blessing when you give some time to us. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back with Kash Daniel for the Kentucky football segment and cover a little bit of the NFL. See you in a minute. Welcome back to Fully Unscripted. Here we have Kash Daniel finally able to join us. We're recording this like 3 days after the original segment because you've been out slinging bourbon across the whole state of Kentucky. Where are you out in Bowling Green right now?
No, we were in so we started out in Paducah on Monday, and then we were in Bowling Green on Tuesday. Yesterday we got to Owensboro. Today we're in Owensboro/Henderson, and then we're working our way back toward Louisville tomorrow. I think we're stopping in Elizabethtown, and then I'll be back at Lexington. So, but yeah, dude, we've been out here slinging bourbon like Uncle Frank slinging crack in the 80s, man. Just out here hustling and trying to meet new customers and things like that. Obviously, you guys have seen, not just in this podcast, but if you've seen any kind of off-season stuff or any of my Instagram stuff where I'm partnered up with RD1 Spirits. So if you guys are interested in drinking some nice high-class bourbon, get some RD1 Spirits. We actually just came out with two new products we've been trying to push out here in the West Kentucky market. We have a 98 proof and a 101 proof finished in French oak. I had to fit it in there.
Subtle plug. Hey, I'm about to go grab my brown water over here in a second.
Hey, it's not a free shout out. So,
That's right.
But yeah, we've been out here, and I wish, honestly, so the place I'm at right now in Owensboro, you could literally, I could hang out the window and probably throw a rock and hit the other side of Indiana. I'm literally right on the river. The bridge is right outside my door. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm very thankful that, I didn't get possessed or anything like that last night in this house because it's one scary-ass fucking house. If I could show you here. So, this is the room I'm in.
It is spooky season. It's spooky season.
Look at this room I'm in, dude. This is the fucking attic. It looks, pretty nice, for Airbnb. But, I can only imagine what has went on in this attic, when this house was, first built or a couple years afterwards. Because it looks like a late 1800s, early 1900s house. So, when we first got here, I took my chain off and had my crucifix on. I was just walking around, blessing the room. And, if I had holy water, I'd probably splash some shit on there too. But
it does look like an attic you might find up in Salem or something.
Oh, yeah, dude. When I first pulled up, I was looking up at the windows, like on the second floor. And I was just waiting to see some kind of fucking figure to vanish and move across the way or something.
No, thank you.
I don't know.
No, thank
you. Not been too bad, but
we're making do with what we can. We apologize for the audio and internet quality because of the traveling. I can hear your dip bottle just racking the audio feed. But that's all right. We're going to get through this. So, hey, thankfully, it's a bye week for Kentucky football, so we don't have to prepare. Can you hear that construction?
It's all right. I mean, you're dealing with my dip bottle. I'm dealing with your saws and fucking, reconstruction of your whole house. So apologies for everybody out there that's used to our high quality productions. We're doing the best we can this week. So
we're going to get through a little 10-minute bit real quick here about the game. Thankfully, we got a bye week coming up, so we can make up for this next week ahead of the Tennessee game down in Knoxville. So tell me quickly.
First off,
go ahead.
Let's talk about the bye week for a second, because that is a huge advantage for Kentucky leading into this Tennessee game. I mean, this probably came at the best time of the season, to be quite honest with you. You got so many guys banged up, including Will Levis. He's got, the turf toe issue. Then he had the shoulder issue last week with Thankfully, it wasn't his throwing shoulder. He came back out and said that he got checked out in the by the docs inside the locker room there, and came back out, and the crowd absolutely went fucking crazy. It reminded me of when Shane Falco in the replacements came out in the second half in the championship game. Like, everybody just went nuts, and it just shows how how much number 7 actually means to this team. I mean, he's the heart and soul of this team, and there's a reason why he's a 2-time captain. There's a reason why that he is the future first round NFL draft pick. So having him back at full health, maybe not full health 100% because with the turf toe issue, I mean, I've never personally went through it, but I've talked to guys that have actually went through it, and they're talking about how it's such a nagging injury that you really can't do anything for it. I mean, all you have to do is sit there and wait for it to heal. And so having this bye week to have our offensive line, I know some of our offensive linemen are banged up, and obviously some of our defensive guys like Jacquez Jones, we need him back out there big time for this week, especially with a high-powered offense like Tennessee, man. But it was last weekend, was a good bounce back game for the Cats. I mean, you're looking at a Mississippi State Bulldogs team that was averaging 40 points a game coming into that game, and Brad White did a great job of mixing up defensive coverage looks, dropping 8 in the coverage, and obviously loading the box. And so he probably watched some film from the Arkansas game. Arkansas dropped 8, probably the majority of the game, and Mississippi State actually ran the ball 36 times in that game. So it's pretty, not normal for a Mike Leach high-powered, air raid offense. But, Brad done an unbelievable job of, putting guys in position to make plays and, confusing Will Rogers back there because, like, when guys think of going against high-powered offenses, the way the defensive coordinators work, they're not trying to beat the offensive coordinator. They're just trying to beat the quarterback and make him, feel uncomfortable back there by, looking at across the field pre-snap. And, one thing that Brad does a great job of is, reiterating that we have to disguise our looks. So a corner, or not a corner, but a safety may be rocking one way, maybe looking like cover 2, and then boom, right before the snap, linebackers are moving, safeties are rotating down, and you're also obviously down in man or cover 3 or something like that. So big props to Brad White and the defense. Obviously, I think Coach White's going to be a future NFL defensive coordinator. I mean, that's just how smart the guy is. But, looking back at that game, it was obviously a great comeback game for the Cats. Sorry, I'm going to spit this fucking dip out. Never know what you're going to get on this episode, boys. There we go. Now I can talk freely. But, I mean, it was a great weekend all around in Lexington, man. I mean, you had the homecoming weekend. There was a lot of people there that I haven't seen in a long time. Avery Williamson stopped by the tailgate at Tailgate 54. So if y'all have a chance to check out his page, he's doing a lot of good things there. Check him out. He's having a good time with him, man. So he came by the tailgate and hung out with us for a little bit. And then you cooked us some jambalaya, which I will give you props to, which was pretty fucking fire. It was pretty good. Sir. And but I will say this: I went a little too hard on the beverage side of things on Saturday. I probably won't be going that hard again anytime soon, to be quite honest with you. So
but we did. Hey, we got to watch a game together. In a really, really cool environment on Saturday. It was a blast.
Yeah, man. Shout out Chuck.
Chuck's the man. We got to get. We might have to do a little tailgate segment and get him on. We need to start pushing out the tailgate videos now that it's going to be a little frosty out there. We're going to have a good time these next couple games back at home.
It should be a good time, man. I mean, we got Tennessee coming up this week. Do we have Vandy at home the next week? No, it's Georgia. We got Georgia after this week. Damn, that's going to be a good one, dude. But, I mean, overall, it was a great weekend. Obviously, you guys are talking about Big Blue Madness.
That'd be fucking in Breeders' Cup? Ooh, yeah. What do you mean you're not going to be going hard for a while? What do you mean?
I mean, not as hard as I went. Like, I can go hard, but, like, I went too hard. You know what I'm saying?
That fireball gets you every time, man.
Yeah, I'm never doing that again. That tequila. that tequila is what fucking got my ass, dude. But, looking back at the game, man, obviously, when you look at what Will Levis did, 17 of 23 for 230 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And that 1 interception, man, I mean, you got to give props where props is due. That Mississippi State DB recognized it immediately, and from the snap of the ball, broke on it, stepped in front of the route, jumped
Yeah.
it perfectly, took it back to the house. But thankfully, we came back down the next series and, obviously fed Chris Rodriguez. So he ended up having 2 touchdowns for 196 yards.
We were sitting there explaining on that Will Levis interception. Can you hear that? Jeez, that's loud. We were sitting there explaining why we were going for it on 4th and 2 on that play and how we were going to put them to bed. And literally explaining to Maria, we were pointing out why everybody was in the position they're in and everything else. And bang, jumps on the ball, picks it off, goes back for 6. Very ill-timed on our part for that discussion happening at the exact moment that we decided to turn the ball over and give those points up. But yeah, like you said, Chris Rodriguez was 4 yards shy, 4 yards shy of 200 yards, had 2 touchdowns himself. Is he back? Is he good?
I believe 24 is back, man. I think that that 4-game suspension is kind of like if you think of a marketing move, you starve people for weeks. Let's say we came out with merch, and it's fire ass merch, obviously the hat you have on right there. And then there are people well, where can we get that hat? When can we get that hat? And you're like, well, we don't know. Maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. And then you finally release it. And it does so well. I mean, Chris is probably, for those last 4 weeks, has probably been just chomping at the bit to get back there on the field. I mean, I know what kind of player, I know what kind of person Chris is. And, to have him back out there is obviously a huge step up for our offense. And that offensive line, dude, they finally looked like they came together and played a full game with each other. I mean, there was hardly any missed assignments or anything like that. And we obviously had, probably one of the greatest flop jobs of all time out there on the field. It's probably one of the more delayed flops I've ever seen. But, hey, we got the 15-yarder, the guy threw a punch, and, he reacted the way he did. And, T's and P's to hopefully he gets back to full health after that just crazy of a Superman punch he took on that one. But, yeah, it was pretty crazy, man. But, going back to the game in itself, I mean, obviously I've already talked about some of the defensive things and what, Brad White did as far as disguises and coverage-wise goes. But, you also got to look at a guy like DeAndre Square, SEC co-defensive player of the week. He had 11 tackles in that game-stealing interception with I think 4 minutes left to go. And, to kind of touch on DeAndre, man, I think he's probably one of the more clutch defensive players that Kentucky has seen probably in the last 10 or so years. I mean, last year, looking at what he's did in the bowl game against Iowa with coming up with that huge pick to seal the game when he was already ruled out with an ankle injury. Having that 6th year to come back, being a super senior, I could not imagine, how much more development and much more maturity that a player would have if they get that extra year. So I mean, I know COVID fucked up a lot of things for everybody, but it probably did a lot of good for really young players who were maybe on the teeter of being an elite player, whether it be on offense or defense. And so having that 6th year coming back has been pivotal especially for this defense this year, especially with Jacquez being out and things like that. And, DeAndre stepped up and, has had a hell of a season so far. But, it was one of those games we had to have, man. I mean, that was something that we had to have as a team and as a fan base, because I feel like if we would have lost that game, we probably would have lost the fan base to completely shifting over to basketball. But obviously Big Blue Madness was this weekend as well. I know you're chomping at the bit to get into basketball season. I know you've been watching some NBA games the last couple nights, and I know you can't wait to start talking about that because, with this podcast, I mean, I compliment you with football. You're going to compliment me with basketball. So that should be pretty fun getting down into.
Dude, Kentucky, just since you mentioned it, we already talked about the NBA when you weren't able to be on earlier this week with Zach, but Kentucky's got $3.2 billion in contract money that's been paid out to Cal's players since his arrival at Kentucky. 27 guys on NBA rosters on opening day this year. It's the most ever. So Cat's got a lot to be proud of on the basketball arena. But I do want to give a shout out real quick because you mentioned C-Rod. You and I got the opportunity to go down and have a sit down with Vince Marrow a couple weeks ago, and during C-Rod's suspension, and he's the only guy that was in the practice facility that day getting some extra work in at that time. So yeah, he's definitely been chomping at the bit, ready to get back out there with his team. So I'm glad we're getting to see him, showcase what it is he's been working on this offseason and, staying with the grind, nose to the grindstone, as you might say, these last couple of weeks when he wasn't able to play. So shout out to him and the Cats, the win over Mississippi State this weekend. Very hard fought. Obviously going into the bye week this week. So I'm gonna use this to transition into, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to give us your dog of the week this past weekend. I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna let you say it. Kash,
Man,
who
here's
is
the
this
thing.
week dog of the week?
Dog of the week. So last week we had Travis Kelce scoring 4 touchdowns on his birthday in that Monday night game. This week, man, like, here's the thing. When I see a dog, I'm going to tell people that they're a dog. And then this week's dog of the week, there was actually a bunch of dogs with an S on the end of it. And people, Big Blue Nation, get mad at me all they want. I really don't care. Dog of the week, the Tennessee Volunteers. I mean, here's the thing, dude. We're in the sports media business. We're in the sports media business now, man, and like, we can't paint ourselves in a corner to where like we can't talk about different teams in the SEC, and I'm gonna give props where props are due, man. I mean, Tennessee finally beat Alabama for the first time in 16 years. There's been discussion of how Alabama got hosed by the referees and different things like that, but I was actually on the treadmill the other night, and I couldn't find anything to watch on YouTube TV while I was on there, and so they actually were playing the replay of that game. And, dude, just watching that game and hearing the things that Nick Saban said post-game, it just looked like Tennessee was about that action. They had that dog in them, dude. I mean, you even saw the video of the fucking offensive lineman literally turning from the fucking huddle, vomiting on the field, and you see 47 across from Alabama going like, what the fuck is this? And he looked at, dude, literally vomits, looks at him and goes, yeah, motherfucker, I'm still coming at your ass at this play. That was the hardest fucking thing I've seen all week long, dude. And then seeing, that offensive explosiveness that Tennessee has. I mean, Josh Heupel has actually done, probably one of the greatest jobs I've seen from an offensive standpoint. Maybe compared to like, in years past with Kentucky football when we had Liam come in last year and completely flip the script of how our offense was ran. I mean, no disrespect to Coach Branham, what he did. Obviously, we won 3 bowl games while he was there, and obviously set a lot of school records, especially with the rushing yards and the offensive line. That's how the term "Big Blue Wall" was actually formed, because we ran the ball down people's throats so much, and you can't do it without a stellar offensive line. And so, when you saw a guy like Liam come in and absolutely change the script of, now we were still bread and butter of running inside zones, gap schemes, different things like that. But he brought the element of being able to take the ball deep vertically on defenses, which what we were missing to create that complete package of an offense. And so seeing a guy like Josh Heupel come in and literally turn around a program like they have at Tennessee, the thing about it is, like, when you look at Tennessee, like in preseason, I always thought like they were hyped just because they were University of Tennessee. Obviously, they had guys like Peyton Manning, Reggie White. They have a great history down there in football. And so, but when they got down into the season, it just seemed like they didn't live up to the hype as they were expected to in preseason. But then, we'd go down there and get our ass kicked by them, because, I mean, Neyland Stadium is probably one of the hardest places to play. And to be quite honest with you, when we went down there and beat them during the COVID year, like any fan listening or any player that's ever played at Neyland Stadium cannot sit there and tell me that there is a complete night and day difference between playing in front of a fully crowded Neyland Stadium with 106,000 screaming fucking Tennessee fans compared to going down there in an empty stadium. Now, I'm not taking credit away from that win. It was an unbelievable win. You had one of the greatest defensive performances from the Kentucky side of things in that game. Jamin Davis had a pick six. Kelvin Joseph had a pick six. And they just went in there and took care of business. But there is a complete night and day difference in playing in front of a full crowded Neyland Stadium versus nobody in the stands. So I'm excited to see what Kentucky can do this time around, because, you're coming off of a great win against Mississippi State. You have a bye week to get everybody healthy, to get your mind right, to get your body right. But, the thing about it is Tennessee had already had their bye week, and they had to give everything that they had against Alabama last week. And so this could be sort of a trap game for Alabama, or not Alabama, but Tennessee, because I was listening to our boys Peter Byrne and Chris During on SEC this morning on the way down to Paducah for our bourbon slinging fiasco that we've got going on down here. And, one of the callers actually called in and said, I know everybody's kind of, riding high on this Alabama win, and they're kind of looking forward to Georgia. He said, but don't overlook Kentucky, because, I mean, this is one of those games where Kentucky could come in and absolutely just flip the table on, because if you think about it, looking back at 2018, when we were, riding high, we came off of a loss against Georgia, and we were expected to go down there and play against a, probably at this point in time, an underappreciated Tennessee team, which wasn't that good. And to be quite honest with you, it was probably one of the worst losses of that season. We went down there and absolutely got our asses kicked, because we thought we were going to roll down there and just roll out and win. And so I'm hoping that Tennessee has that off kind of has that mentality, because I think that now, with everybody getting healthy this bye week, getting Will back to where he needs to be, getting the offensive line back where they need to be, and hopefully we can have Jaquez Jones back there. It's one of those things to where, if Kentucky can go down there with the right mindset of, we're not leaving Knoxville without a win, this could be a pretty damn good game they're getting themselves into. Now, last week, going back to our dog of the week in Tennessee, man, that was probably one of the most exciting college football games that I've ever watched. I mean, they went up early on them, big time. Alabama came back. There was a couple things that happened in that game that kind of changed the course of the outcome. And then just the aftermath of that win in Knoxville.
I was going to say, so it first off, it was an incredible game. I'm surprised you said that, being the defensive-minded person that you are, because there was almost no defense played that whole game. But there is good news for us, because as a Kentucky fan, and those that have covered, we've been covering the Cats for, 5 games into the season so far, we have had a little bit of struggles with special teams, and they don't have any goalposts right now. So it might be an advantage for us.
Let me tell you something about that goalpost now. So they took that fucking goalpost down. They carried it out the stadium. They took it into the Tennessee River. So for my fishermen out there that are listening to this podcast, you better find that fucking goalpost and run that damn crankbait right down the side of it, son, because there's going to be a smallmouth right there waiting on to chomp that fucking crankbait off. But
did you see the tweet? Did you see the tweet from the football team?
That they needed fucking donations. Dude, what the fuck is that? Like, come on, dude. Like, they got fined $100,000 for the field rush. I mean, they probably made $100,000 in fucking alcohol sales alone that game. So they've already got that covered. I mean, the annual tuition, I could not imagine what the annual tuition for in-state and out-of-state tuition is for University of Tennessee. So, I mean, I don't get it, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like it's a joke.
They tried
not
to make
a joke.
No, it's not a joke. They want money, but they tried to make it cutesy. They tried to be like, we got it, y'all. I don't know if you know this or not, but goalposts cost money, and you tore them down. So, could you help us out? Like, come on, I get it, but come on.
But I heard that they already purchased some in anticipation of that happening.
Even better.
So I don't know, so for example, like you look at Kentucky games. So as soon, so with the renovations and everything that happened in 2016, so you had the turf, you had the new skyboxes, you had new everything. And one of the funniest things is that literally as soon as that fucking horn hits and zeros are striking, I know the game's over. We had the retractable goalposts coming down the field, so we don't have to go out and buy new ones because obviously with some of the big wins we've had over the years, like last year, I can only imagine last year against Florida, if we didn't have those retractable goalposts, I would assume that you would see probably a reoccurring theme of goalposts being torn down. But here's the thing, dude. When you look back in the 80s and the 90s and seeing big wins like that, I understand that's destruction of property, I guess if you want to call it, but that's what makes college football so awesome is because people want to go nuts. They want to go out there and have a hell of a fucking time with the team. And if a goalpost comes down, a goalpost comes down. I mean, theoretically, how hard is it for the University of Tennessee or anybody in the SEC? No, maybe besides Vandy. Well, Vandy's got the medical school, so they got a bunch of money too. Literally, how much of a pain literally is it to put up a new goalpost? I mean, it shouldn't be that fucking hard.
I'm not going to argue with you there. I was down on the field when we beat whoever it was several years ago, before they did the renovations, before the retractables, when we pulled the goalpost out of South Carolina. I was down there for that. That was entertaining. But there is the flip side of that. There is the, what happened with Florida State or whoever it was. I think it was Florida State. We talked about a couple episodes ago.
No, it was Texas. Texas Tech.
Sorry, Texas Tech. Yeah. So there's always the other side of the coin.
Well, did you see what happened with the Tennessee girl that ran down the field and the Alabama wide receiver?
No. Oh, yeah. I heard about it. I haven't seen the video, though. No.
So one of the Alabama wide receivers was walking to the locker room, and it's very fuzzy. You can't really see, all of it, but you can obviously see his hand slept back and slapped this girl right in the back of the head. And so, I mean, I understand and here's the thing, we talked about last week with Devontae Adams shoving down the cameraman. Dude, we get that's a bad loss. You put all this hard work and effort into it, and then you get beat by a team that you haven't gotten beat by in 16 years, and they're coming on the field, and I'm sure that even before that woman ran by him, like, I can't sit here and say that, she did or didn't say anything to him because that doesn't matter. But, like, I can only imagine, coming off that field and, so many, drunk college fans and college kids out there just saying some of the most awful shit to him, just to pouring salt into the wound. But, there's no place for that. I mean, at that point in time, you got to be a professional. You got to just keep your head down, get in the locker room, take your ass chewing, get your Chick-fil-A that the team's provided for you, get on the bus, get your ass back to Tuscaloosa, and go back to work next week. So, I mean, there's no place for that. I mean, there's fans for a reason. They're the ones that make college football exciting. So, I mean, there's no reason to put your hands on anyone. Cameraman, fan, anything like that, there's a reason why you're on the field and they're in the stands, 100%. So you got to be more professional. You got to be more professional.
It goes back to the same thing we talked about last week with the whole Draymond Green situation and the what's his name with the cameraman. Yeah, it's going to be an issue when you put fans that are emotional and intoxicated, in an environment where there's athletes who are pumped full of energy and testosterone, and also, coming off of an emotional win or loss. So, something we got to be careful with, but just, take into account everything that goes into those situations. So anyway,
but let's go ahead and talk about what the Cats have to do this week. So, when you look at a game like this, this will end our segment, Dog of the Week. Tennessee Volunteers. Shout out to Tennessee, man. I mean, they came prepared. They had Alabama shook from the get-go. I remember Nick Saban post-game was talking about how usually, the players were chanting some stuff as they come out the tunnel, and this week they didn't say a fucking word. So he was like, well, what the hell's up with this? So obviously, I don't know if it was the pressure or if it was whatever it was, but Tennessee had them boys shook. So to be quite honest with you, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how Alabama bounces back after this because, you could argue that last year was probably one of Nick Saban's greatest coaching job that he's done because, ever since he's been there, Alabama has been the standard. They've been the precedent of what needs to be done to win national championship after national championship. And so, I kind of feel like now that, Nick Saban finally gets to actually coach his team, and not just relying on raw talent alone. So he actually gets to get in people's – I'm not going to say he doesn't get in people's ass because obviously if you watch any of the sideline cams, you can see Nick Saban. I mean, that guy absolutely goes ballistic. And, seeing a guy like that with so much emotion, I mean, obviously cares about winning and wants to win so bad but he's had so many talented teams. Like, you could almost do the bare minimum of coaching and still rely on your athleticism and your strength and your size and your speed out there to go out there and take care of the game for you. But now, he's looking back at film. They're getting ready to, get ready for this week. And so I honestly feel bad for the remaining schedule of opponents for the Alabama Crimson Tide because they're going to come out with their fucking piss hot and they're looking to fucking put some people in the dirt, man. But, again, win this segment here with Tennessee. Shout out Tennessee, being Dog of the Week, getting it done against Alabama. But the Cats are rolling in town this week, or not this week, but next week. And hopefully we're going to burst your all's fucking bubble. But, by the way,
we're going to roll down there and act the fool. All right, let's hear it.
I was about to say,
we're going to roll down there and act the fool. We got to do it. We'll put some teasers out on social media and stuff. We'll get the plan together and figure it out. But I'm excited.
I might take my cranking rod, go out there and see if I can catch one off that fucking goalpost.
Well, we know you can. So we're going to do this real quick. I know we got about 3.5 minutes left before we got to roll here. The episode's getting a little long, and these contractors upstairs are beating a hole through the ceiling. So I'm going to be real quick. I'm going to run off a couple NFL games real quick, chime in on a little feedback after we're done with that, and then we'll close out. So we got Jets over the Packers. I know you're happy about that one. Cowboys are still an absolute problem. Even though coming off a loss this weekend, they have an elite defense, one of the best in the league. They're still got a backup QB. So, they're not even back at full strength yet, and they're still playing as well as they did against, look at that game. Go ahead.
But Dak Prescott is now expected to play this week.
Correct.
Is what I've been told.
I'm saying that even up to this point, he's been injured, not able to be out there, and they're still on this unbelievable tear. And they lost to an unbelievable team on Sunday. They're still an absolute issue for the rest of the league. Bills over the Chiefs, possibly the most complete team in the league, in my opinion. The Bills, even though they're not.
That was probably one.
Go ahead.
My bad.
You're good.
My bad.
What? What's wrong?
That was probably one of the better NFL games I've seen. Like every time it seems now that you get a Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes matchup, it's going to be fucking magical. And so, like, even listening to Tony Romo up there, again, we've talked about Tony Romo before of how good he is as a fucking announcer, man. Dude was up there, literally called the final score of this game just by looking at how hard each team was playing and different schemes and everything they were running. Literally was up there saying, this probably is going to look like, maybe a 24-20 game. And I'll be damned, scores 24-20 at the end of the game. But, you got a guy like Josh Allen who is – there's hardly words to describe how good this dude is. He literally hurdled a guy. Just literally, the quarterbacks aren't supposed to. Maybe like Lamar Jackson, or somebody like that. But, Josh Allen, that was fucking awesome. And the dude can absolutely sling it down the field. Finding guys like Stephon Diggs and other weapons down the field vertically, man. This Bills team is an absolute problem. The Cowboys obviously have been a problem. The Eagles are still probably one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the best teams in the NFL now.
See, the Eagles are undefeated. The Eagles are undefeated. But the Bills won they beat the Ravens at home. They beat the Rams at home. They beat the Chiefs at home. I'm sorry, all on the road. They beat all three of those teams on the road. So the Eagles are still undefeated, but the Bills, they lost to who? Miami, I think.
Yeah, they lost to Miami and Miami.
Okay, but they won all those. They won all three of those other games on the road. They're probably the most complete team this year, and obviously with a guy like Josh Allen at the helm, they're dangerous. So we'll see if Philly can continue to get it done. But the Bills are, my favorite to be the champions this year.
I would love nothing more than to see a Bills-Eagles Super Bowl matchup. That would be fucking unbelievable.
We'll see. We'll see if we get to there. So I know we got to wrap this up. I'm going to leave y'all with this. We're not going to get into depth on our normal closeout segment with this Game of Thrones situation, but we're not going to get into depth because we got the finale coming up on Sunday. And I'm sure we're going to have an extensive conversation about that next week. But needless to say, it's about to go down.
Yeah, you fucking raise the banners, boys. Green versus black. Who's going to win this one? It's about to be on like Donkey Kong, son.
I'm hyped. We'll talk about that, though, more next week. You need to get to where you got to get to. Go swing some bourbon. Make us that money. Bring us back a few bottles to the studio. And we got a little surprise for y'all coming back next week as well. So appreciate y'all joining us now. And we will talk to y'all very, very shortly.